Hi, this is Suchi, and in our today's video, we will talk about default arguments in function. So let me tell you what is a default argument. Just consider this scenario when we want some particular parameter should have some default value, even if the user or we are not providing any value while calling that function. By default, that parameter should have some value, predefined value. In that scenario, we have to use default arguments. So how we can do that? Let us look into it. Let me define one function where we will divide a number by another number. So let's say, and we are passing n1, that is the first number, and n2, which is the second number. This is what the function will do. Now what we will return from here? Let us print the first number, which is n1, and the second number, which is n2. And finally, we are returning n1 divided by n2. Maybe we are printing this. Instead of returning, we are just printing this n1 divided by n2. That's it. So let us run this cell, and now the function is defined. So in this scenario, what we will do when we will call this function with two numbers, let's say 70 and 5, we will see the first number is 70, second number is 5, and the result is 14. Now, what if we want that if we even pass a single number, let's say 70, if we pass just 70, still we should get some output. Here you can see it is throwing an error, which is divide num missing one required positional argument, which is n2. So in this scenario, what we can do? If we want to assign some default value to n2. So if we are not sending the second number, it should return the number itself. So what we can do? We can assign 1 here. So this is the syntax of assigning default value or default argument. If we just use an equal sign and a value here in the function definition, what will happen? Even if we are not providing any value to this parameter, it will take the predefined value. But if we are sending some value to this parameter, it will take the user specified value, not the default value. So let us run this function and let us see what happens now. So as you can see, the first number is 70, second number is taken from the default value, which we have set while defining the function. So second number is 1 and the result is 70. Now what will happen if I specify something? If I am sending 7, you can see the second number is 7 and returning result is 10. So it is working perfectly as we expected. This is how we can specify default argument. And with default argument also we can use, in case of default argument also we can use keyword argument syntax or positional argument syntax. As you can see here, I have used the positional argument syntax. We can again use keyword argument syntax here. So here, instead of passing this in this way, we can also specify n2 equals 7 and n1 equal 70. It will be working fine. Can also pass like this. simply n1 equals 70. This will also work fine. So this is what our default argument is. But while defining a function, you might be thinking that, can we do this? Instead of defining this function like this, can we have default value for n1 instead of n2? So let us try that. We want the first number to be 50 always if it is not provided, and second number has to be provided. Can we do this? So let us define this and let us see what happens. So let us run this cell. So here we go. We can see here we are getting a syntax error. So what it is saying? It is saying non-default argument follows a default argument, which is not allowed. So default argument should always be coming after the non-default arguments. Non-default arguments cannot appear after default arguments. We can have as many number of default and non-default arguments as we want, but we have to make sure all the non-default arguments are defined first, and then the default arguments are defined. So here, if we want to do this, then we have to assign this thing. Now we can easily perform this task. We just need to have all the non-default arguments first, and then we have to define all the default arguments. Now we can send some other value we can send. So now you can see the first number we are sending here and the second number we are sending at the first position. So we have to always remember that the non-default arguments should be defined first and then the default arguments have. So let me just show you another function, a dummy function. We can have as many number of arguments as we want, as we wish. Let me just print all of them simply. Let me have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here you can see all the arguments we are passing. Now if we want to specify few default values so that we can omit them anytime. So if I want to assign default value to N3, N4, and N6. So here you know that if I'm going to run this, it will throw an error because N5 is not a default argument. It is non-default argument. So all the non-default arguments should come first and then the default arguments should come. So what should I do to solve this issue? I have to place it before all the default arguments. So all the non-default arguments first and the default arguments next. Now we can run this. So now you can see N1, N2 and N5, we can simply pass these three and rest of them will be assigned automatically. Here you can see we are just passing 1, 2 and 5 and we can see 3, 4, 6 are coming from the default value. So like this, we can have any number of default arguments, given that we have to declare all the non-default arguments first and the default arguments next. Here also we can use them as keyword arguments. Here we can change the order. And you can see the order has been changed. N1 is now 5. So N1 is printed first, that is 5. N2 is 2. N2 is 1, that is printed here. N3 is already set as the default value 3. And then comes our N4. N4 is set as 4 by default. And N5 we have assigned 2, that is coming here. And N6 is 6. So that's it. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. So keep learning and keep implementing. Thank you.